It's Marvel Contest of Champions news time. The only news source that says it's going to change its intro, then a couple months later reverts back to the old one in order to be a bit more nostalgic. Yes, quality news at its source. Welcome to Marvel Contest of Champions news for Monday. What is the date? It's the 17th of September, and I didn't forget that. Kinda did. But in any case, let's jump into the news stories. Our first story pings us over to the forum, and a story by Terance. I've seen your name popped up a few times on Twitter. It's good to see somebody that I know post. Unfortunately, it is a little bit negative because there's something that should be in place that doesn't seem to be, and that is all about masteries and interaction with Alliance Wars. So as we know it to be, when you put and lock in your team, that whatever mastery you had at that time is the mastery that is set. Unfortunately, it looks like it is not the case. So say if you've got suicide masteries on, which is a pretty negative but good on output, it's more of like an offensive type mastery, like massive amounts of damage, but at the same time with things like recoil, as well as damage that is taken over time, as well as being pretty piss weak, it is not a good set of masteries when you're putting up an Alliance Wars boss. In this case, Terrance's experience against another alliance has shown that some of the champions that one particular player had were with a standard mastery, or suicide mastery, and then the boss was standard. And if that theory is to be believed, it does mean that you'd be able to change your masteries midway through fighting and say, right, well, they're so weak. I'm gonna, before they reach the end boss and you can watch them, I'm gonna then change back to normal masteries. And you shouldn't be able to switch between them and have it affect what happens in Alliance Wars. Command Mike says he's gonna look into this, but at the same time, it could be a just weird anomaly that while someone was placing, that there was a switch. I mean, it's pretty irregular. I'm trying to find something that could be a logical explanation for this. But if you've locked in your fighters, you'd have to literally lock in about 4 of them and leave 1 whilst you switch over the masteries during. It's a pretty odd thing, but in any case, there could be a logical reason for this, but we'll wait to hear back more details in the future. Our next story, and exploring the reasons why King Groot could be broken. Mirage Turtle, following on from Green Stroke's post about King Groot, and it's all to do with the ticks of damage and how Fury buffs interact with that to increase the damage. This paragraph here encapsulates what Mirage Turtle is trying to bring to the table to discuss, in that he feels that in some of the images that he displays, that he should be seeing an increase on the poison debuff with the attack rating increase from the Furies on the attack that he's doing against Winter Soldier. Now the first thing people will kind of go is like, oh, well, should he get any improved debuff damage on his attack? If his attack rating is increased, then should he get increased poison damage? And then others may say, yes, that should be a thing. He should get that. It certainly has been brought to Command Vidius' attention, who is going to indeed look into this. And it may be a case that this has actually been identified as a pure issue, which could be great for King Groot, because if this has been done for a while and it's not been improved, then King Groot gets a little bit of a buff, which I'm all for. I've got him at 6-star and I actually really enjoy the champion. Even better if I can get my 6-star awakened. Oh, that would be tasty. And sticking with the champions broke scenario, Rogue can be added to that list. So back in July, it was noted by a lot of people that Rogue was not shrugging off certain debuff effects, and whether or not this was due to old builds of the game or certain devices, it's very hard to say. But it is being experienced by a lot of players in the game. There is a small little argument that goes on parallel with this, and that is, should Rogue shrug off other types of effects, like debuff effects like Frostbite and Cold Snap, as well as other random and new buffs from certain champions that have been added fairly freshly. And until then, there hasn't been really any great response on the matter from the initial issue, as well as going further. You know, should there be a bigger push for debuff effects to be shrugged off by a champion that is meant to shrug off debuff effects? So what is the lay of the land with this? We just don't know. We'll be waiting to have an answer hopefully soon, but look, there's a lot of things that need addressing, and I just don't think we're going to get the answer this month. Next up, and pretty much the last couple of months, there's been this post about Special 1 and Special 2 not hitting. Whether or not it's a chaining issue, going in with a 5 combo and then trying to hit a special, not coming off, and it's being blocked by the enemy. Where are we up to now? Well, there's not been any great movement or update on this particular situation. Personally, I felt this last month, but I'm not experiencing this month. But that is not in any way, shape or form to say that it's not happening to other people, because it is happening to other people. The final update from Kabam Lyra is that it's been brought to the game team. They can't find the particular issue with this, and it seems to be, a done for forum post, because, well, if they're not going to search any further, then they're not. But at the same time, he does mention, or she mentions, that it could be device specific. So make sure you put your device in there. It could be very much Android related. It could be a little bit iOS. But I think I've seen more evidence of people saying problems on Android and certain other devices. That could be a big telling point as to where the problem lies and how to fix it. Our next story is all about an opinion poll about Kabam's communication. It's surprising not to see this closed down, and I would expect that by the time you go to read it that it is closed down. But for the time being, it's up, and there are lots of different things to talk about with it. The first thing being that the favourable things people weren't voting for, and largely it was 34% went to no, same old with poor communication. Not really. Unless it's good news, they don't want to talk about it. Okay. Yes, there's been an improvement, but they have a long way to go. Most of the voting went down to the negative points, but a little bit of positive with they're doing a little bit better, but there's more ways to go. It just goes to show how much the community are kind of feeling towards the developer. And I think it is important that Kabam do look at these things, not with kind of like shooting themselves in the foot or kind of like feeling negative or anything, but they should be looking to improve things that make your greatest weakness your greatest strength and turn it around. That's the best thing I think any company should do. Next up, and we're over to the memes thread of the Marvel Contest of Champions forum. I'm still surprised that they haven't closed this thread down. Kabam are just getting constantly ribbed, and they must be loving it. Why, I do not know. So we've got a nice piss off ghost. We've got about spending units on crystals and getting terrible luck. Kabam are like Jesus. We've then got this thing about you could be a neurosurgeon, you could be a successful CEO, a doctor, you could be a well-paid actor, a lawyer, or you could be an MCC YouTuber. So, you know, I mean, it's not too bad doing it. It's nice to have interaction with people, though I don't get much time because my day job is incredibly more busier since I started it. And I would like to do YouTube more, but then that's life. Life goes on. You've got to pay the bills without the thrills. But there's loads of different memes. Go over and take a look for yourself. I did like this one. They've done something like this with Henry Cavill, and it's like DC announced that Henry Cavill is no longer Superman, and it's like Marvel, and it's like just over the thing. In any case, yeah, go and take a look for yourself. Next up, and let's talk about something Marvel related, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So if you're not familiar, James Gunn was fired as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of tweets that he made several years ago, which were brought back up and, you know, made him seem a little bit weird and inappropriate. He was judged on a time capsule, a moment in time where, say, comedy and things were considered to be a bit edgy and out there, but nowadays would be considered to be, you know, completely inappropriate. And whether or not you agree with him being fired or don't, then it's completely up to you whether or not you want to sign this petition. It currently sits at just well over 400,000 signatures, so it's completely up to you whether or not you want to sign this. I'm just putting it there as an option if you did want to. Next up, and let's talk about arena cutoffs. Now, this is round one. The results are in. 61 mil for a Mega Red. I don't know what this is attributed to. Maybe it's lack of extra content in the game. We haven't had a challenge in a while. So are players instead looking to grind out arena? Putting up 61.3 mil is pretty darn extreme. Where people before would just put about a flat 60 million and kind of go, hey, I got the champion, the new champion that's been added in. But it is crept over a lot. It's gone up way past my expectations. I thought at least he'd go for about 50 mil, but 61.3 people have enjoyed that particular champion, which I do find quite strange with Emma Frost coming in a couple weeks time. Will people push for that? Will they used to, you know, look to spend all their units on grinding for her? I don't really know. Are we going to see something incredible for Emma Frost? Again, very hard to tell. but if this is any indication, expect a high cutoff for that. In the midweek, the round 2, I suspect that a Mega Red will go for anything close to that number, or it's going to be a shock second round, the similar shock second round that we have experienced sometimes in the past. So I'm going to stick with the 60 mil kind of round target. Could even go about 62 mil to be safe, but it's hard to say. 14.2 does seem like a normal cutoff for the 4-star version, and I reckon that would be a 14.5 to be safe. And then we've got Gambit. Well, you know, if you are unlucky enough to kind of get Gambit, if you were going for him, then 1.6 mil would probably be safe, but just put the cutoff of or kind of finish point of the milestone at 1.5 mil, and I think you'd be absolutely fine with pocketing some decent stuff, as you can see there with the 11 to 25%. So that's me, Marvel Contest of Champions news. Thank you very much for watching the news. Make sure, if you are not, to be subscribed to the channel. Myself, RichTheMan, for Marvel related games, as well as some other games as well that are pretty fun. But at the same time, if you enjoyed the news, hit that like button as well. This is probably the last news before I go to Scotland. I'm going to Edinburgh at the end of the week. So if anybody is about, I will be on Twitter, probably going, hey, I'm in this location, say hey, or whatever. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I've been RichTheMan, and I shall catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye for now.